Hello everyone, welcome to Lit Studio. So today we are going to talk about literary terms and devices. Alright, this is going to be our first class in this segment. So the first literary term or device that we are going to discuss about is alliteration. Alright, when you observe the word alliteration, it has a letter. Alright, so it simply means a single letter is being repeated more than once in a single sentence or a statement. Right, that is called alliteration. So now it is a literary device characterized by the repetition of the same sound at the beginning or adjacent or closely connected words. Alright, it is used in both prose and poetry to create rhythmic effect so that it would linger in the memory of the reader and can also convey particular emotions and moods. All right, so if you remember any particular poetry or any particular line that is being repeated, we can always observe a single sound pattern that is being repeated in a single sentence. All right, it what it does is that it helps in the memory of the reader. All right, so we can understand and we can also remember it in a better way when there is this device, that is alliteration, used in the sentence. All right, the example of this would be The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. The line was, once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary. So here W sound is being repeated in the sentence. All right, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping. So here if you observe, there is repetition of the word ing and also n, right? So that makes it rhythmic. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping. All right, there is rhythm to it. All right, that's what alliteration does. It adds rhythm to the sentence and also thereby makes the reader memorize the sentence in a much better sense. All right, here the repeated W and N sounds add to the poem's somber tone and contribute to the eerie and dreamlike quality of the narrative. Alright, that is what alliteration is all about. When a single letter is being repeated in a single sentence or statement, maybe at the beginning or at the end, or maybe between two adjacent words or anything, that is when you call it alliteration. All right, a single letter is being repeated, a single sound is being repeated. All right, so now that we are done with alliteration, let's move on to allegory. So the actual word allegory derives from the ancient Greek and and is translated to mean implying something, and this translation further helps us to understand its function. Implying something, okay? From ancient Greek, the word allegory is derived and it means implying something. All right, so this translation of the root is very important because allegory actually means something which has a hidden meaning, a story which is actually implying another story. All right, it is a story which has, when you read it on the surface level, you understand the denotative meaning, but when you dig deeper, only then you can understand the hidden meaning. All right, there are two meanings in an allegory. One is the surface level meaning and next is the hidden meaning or the connotative meaning. All right, this is a literary device that uses symbolic characters, settings and events to convey a hidden meaning or moral lesson. All right, it operates on two levels. That's what we've talked about: a surface level narrative that stands alone as a story, and a deeper symbolic meaning that represents an abstract ideas or concepts. What is the issue with an allegory is that you should understand the text and the entire narrative of the text. Only then you will be able to understand the hidden meaning of the text. Otherwise you will be able to understand only the denotative meaning or the surface level meaning of the text. That is the reason why when a text is read by a kid or somebody who's younger in age, he wouldn't be able to understand the connotative meaning or the hidden meaning, because one has to understand the world in a much better sense. Only then he'll be able to understand what the writer is intending at, right? So that is what an allegory is all about. The primary purpose of an allegory is to express complex ideas in a way that is understandable and engaging. So through allegory, what one does is that one is able to penetrate the ideas which are in general complex. All right. So, for example, if you take the idea of communism, you wouldn't be able to understand the ideas of communism. You couldn't make a student of 10th standard understand the ideas of communism in a much better sense. But then you can always prescribe the work Animal Farm by George Orwell, and when he understands the dynamics involved in the text, he can thereby understand the dynamics of communism in a much better sense. And also, because the text keeps him engaging, we can also impart the conditions that have happened in real life scenario. All right. So, other examples of an allegory would include Dante's Divine Comedy and John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. All right. I hope you are familiar with the text that I have mentioned, Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress and Dante's Divine Comedy. All right. If you are not familiar with these texts, please make sure you read a little about them so that you can understand what an allegory is in a much better sense. All right. And now we move on to the third important literary device called allusions. So, an allusion is a reference typically brief to a person, place, thing, or event or other literary work with which a reader is presumably familiar. For example, if you are a reader and you are familiar to Shakespeare, I might allude something from Shakespeare's work that you would be familiar with. Alright? For example, if I say Et tu, Brute, you would understand that I am actually referencing my work to Julius Caesar by Shakespeare. Alright? That is called allusion. I have alluded from Shakespeare's work, Julius Caesar. Alright? It is a literary device that allows the writers to compress a great deal of meaning and significance into a word or phrase. Alright? When I say the word "Et tu, Brute," I need not express the entire idea that I was cheated by someone I found very trustworthy. Alright? The entire idea, which is very elaborate, could be condensed into a single statement which is taken from another very famous or familiar text. Alright, that's what allusion does. It makes the concept easy to understand, and it also makes a significant word or phrase and gives them a great deal of meaning. Alright? The primary purpose of an allusion is to create connection between the current work and other works, events or figures that are already known to the audience. That's what I've talked about. When I used something that Shakespeare has used, I'm trying to make a connection with Shakespeare's work to my own work, right? So that's when you understand things. When you think that something is very familiar to you, you make a connection with the text and then you try to impart the text. All right. So that is the reason why writers in general use allusions for the reader to have the sense of familiarity. All right. This technique also helps to develop characters by associating them with archetypes of other well-known characters. For example, if there is a hero who has a weak spot, all right, who is like uncontrollable, undefeatable, but he has a weak spot at something, and if the villains or the antagonist know about that weak spot of the hero, he can directly attack there and win very easily. All right, that is called Achilles heel. All right, so here I am we are basing the character, we are developing the character of our hero based on Achilles of Trojan War. All right, so Achilles of Trojan War is an archetype that we are building this hero upon. So that is one of the allusions that we can use in our text. All right. We can also provide context for the readers through comparison or contrast to other literary work. We can offer exposition for a story by referring to the plot or characters of another work. These are the purposes of an allusion. Some of the examples of allusion would include their love was like Romeo and Juliet, which would be an allusion of the work by Shakespeare called Romeo and Juliet. He was like the big brother. If you had read 1984 by George Orwell, we all know who Big Brother is. So, through this statement, I am making an allusion of the work 1984 by George Orwell. For example, from the pop culture, even when we take could I be wearing any more clothes? That statement would always allude to Chandler, our beloved character in the show Friends. Alright? So, some of the very popular dialogue said by some of the very popular characters would be a source of allusions for the upcoming or current writers. Alright? So that is what allusions is all about. So in this lecture I've covered alliteration, allegory and allusions. All right, so this is a, a chapter on A. So literary devices starting with A. There are few more literary devices that are starting with A. I'll have them in part 2 of literary devices. So I hope you understand everything that we've discussed in this video. Also, please make sure you subscribe. Thank you.